Hey, this video is going to cover the next key role of a business in the context of the nature of business, and particularly in Australia, following on from profit, which is the last video and the last point in the syllabus, and this being employment. Now, clearly employment plays a critical role in any economy, and as you're going to see, the small and medium enterprise section or part of our economy in the context of employment plays a really critical role because of the number of people that it employs, and also the importance of employment and of having relatively low unemployment in the economy, so that those people who are employed can be purchasing products and consuming services that the SME sector is providing to then fuel those businesses and allow those businesses to employ even more people or to invest in technology to further enhance the ability of that business to be profitable. So in the context of employment, first and foremost, employment is there to pay for products as customers need money. So therefore, in order for those customers to purchase and to engage with those small and medium enterprises, the people need money to come from the employment that they engage in. Employment is the first avenue really for which people earn money that they can then spend back into those businesses, and it's a cyclical nature in terms of go and work in a business, receive an income, and then spend that money back in the economy. For those of you doing Year 11 economics, and you'll engage or you'll go through the circular flow of income, and that's really what I'm talking about here, the relationship between the household sector and the employment sector, focusing here on the SME part of the economy. As you can see there, that in the last point of this point here, the number of employees at a business depends on the product being produced. We're focusing on the SME part of our economy. Clearly, they only employ relatively small numbers, but if you're talking about big global entities, because of this, the number of products or the amount of services being provided, they employ a lot more people. Here's just a snapshot of the employment in Australia in the most up-to-date figures I could find in the context of public sector, so government employment, in relation to private sector employment. So this is telling us that there's been a drop-off in public sector employment over recent times, and that's something we could discuss in class next lesson, largely due to privatisations of large government entities. And you can see that the private sector accounts for about 14% of total employment in Australia. Here's another snapshot as well in terms of where people are largely employed. This is across all sized businesses. You can see that property, healthcare, retail, and manufacturing are sort of the largest four employers of people in Australia. Here's a bit more detail about Australia. This is a little bit old, but it's the most up-to-date I could find as at 30 June 2014. So this is telling us that, just a few key pieces of information, 4.7 million Australians were employed in small businesses at that period, at that time. There was some growth in small business employment for the 12 months up to 30 June 2014. So about 146,000 additional people were employed by small businesses. They account for the largest share of total employment in Australia. I think that's a very important point. This is small businesses, so they are those businesses employing between 2 and 20 people. They account for the largest share of employment. 44% of people employed in Australia are employed in small businesses, which compares with 24% for medium, so that would be businesses employing between 21 and 199 staff. And large businesses accounted for 31.7% share of employment. So you can see that particularly if you add together the 44 and the 24.3, SMEs are accounting for 68% of total employment in Australia, a really significant number. Having said all of that, that was on the back of a bit of a fall in small business employment, falling to 47% of all employment. And the last point here is one that I think is also very important, that small businesses are much less likely to provide paid parental leave or flexible working arrangements to their employees than medium and large businesses. So to some degree, there might be a disadvantage in going to work for a small business because of those facts. Again, that's something maybe to touch on in class, the disadvantage of potentially working for a small business, and that might push some people to go and seek employment in large businesses because of the financial benefits, i.e. leave, etc., that they offer. Okay, that's it really for a really brief look at employment, and the next video will focus on incomes in Australia.